Welcome to Basketball Cinema, where we revisit the most important and iconic games in NBA history. I'm Jay Canada, and today we're looking at Game 1 of the 2009 first round series between the Chicago Bulls and Boston Celtics. In April of 2008, the Kansas Jayhawks took down the Memphis Tigers in the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship game, with Mario Chalmers out-dueling freshman point guard Derrick Rose. After being hailed one of the greatest high schoolers to ever lace him up, Rose had lived up to the hype at the college level, having a super productive year despite Memphis losing in the final, and declaring for the NBA draft shortly thereafter. As if destined to be, the Chicago Bulls miraculously won the draft lottery despite having just a 1.7% shot at doing so, and put them in control of selecting the consensus #1 overall pick, the Chicago-born Derrick Rose. Is destiny spelled R-I-G-G-E-D? I'm just asking for a friend. In any event, the Bulls were able to pick Rose and reignite the market in a way that hadn't happened since the Michael Jordan era of dominance in the Windy City. Rose put his print on the NBA immediately as a rookie, averaging 19 and 6 a game over the first 20 games of his career. He'd eventually finish the season sporting a line of 17.6 assists and 4 rebounds per game, en route to winning Rookie of the Year and pushing his Bulls into the playoffs with the 7th seed in the East. While the stats are impressive, it was also the style of play which Derrick Rose played with that endeared him to fans immediately. Rose always seemed to be moving at a different pace than every other player in the NBA. His leaping ability and quick twitch movements have still never been replicated, and you got the sense if he was able to harness that athleticism and fine-tune the details in his game, he might just be an unstoppable force in the NBA. In addition to rookie Rose, the Bulls had a super fun group of players in 08-09. Former 6th Man of the Year and perennial 20-point-a-game guy Ben Gordon, deadline acquisitions John Salmons and Brad Miller, also Kirk Hinrich, Tyrus Thomas, and second-year Joakim Noah. Hey Joakim, what do you remember about your early Bulls teams?
Man, we were competitive we weren't around, we were grimy.
Well, alright then. Should also note, Luol Deng was also on this Bulls roster too, but missed the playoffs because of injury. Rose and the Bulls drew a seemingly impossible matchup in round 1 of the playoffs, however, as they drew the 2nd-seeded Boston Celtics. The Celtics finished the season 62-20 behind only LeBron and the Cavs in the East, and were fresh off winning the title in 2008. Boston was being led by reigning Finals MVP Paul Pierce, sharpshooter Ray Allen, and young burgeoning star point guard Rajon Rondo. You may be yelling at me at this moment, Jay, you're forgetting a pretty key piece to that Celtics team, but I'm not, as Kevin Garnett had gone down with injury in February of 2009 and would miss the entirety of the playoffs. Obviously a huge piece missing for the Celts, but Boston would eventually boast 5 players who averaged double-figure scoring in the playoffs, so they were once again in it to win it. Could Rose react and wreak havoc on the reigning champion Celtics in round 1? Why did this first round series between the Bulls and Celtics have analysts going crazy about it?
These are unforgettable from game to game to game, just on being competitive.
I honestly don't know. You might not either. So let's find out together. My Canadian brother Dan Schulman was on the broadcast of this one for ESPN, alongside former NBAer John Barry, who mentioned pregame,
and the difference maker for the Chicago Bulls is Derrick Rose. What a terrific season. The Rookie of the Year, most likely. He's been great.
No spoilers, of course, but that's some really good foreshadowing by Johnny B. First points of the game courtesy Joakim Noah on the lob, courtesy Derrick Rose with the assist in transition. After a pair of free throws to open the Celtics account, their first field goal of the game coming from Kendrick Perkins, who looked like a young Shaquille O'Neal on that hook shot. Come playoff time, the Bulls were starting 4 players who were 25 or younger, and they got going early. 22-year-old Tyrus Thomas with a 15-footer set up by D. Rose, then 25-year-old Ben Gordon on an open midi give Rose his 3rd early assist. 2008 Finals MVP Paul Pierce on the board with a jumper from the left elbow, then Joakim Noah showing his activity early with a block on that Rondo drive. Noah had 8 points, 7 rebounds, a block, and a steal in the first quarter alone. Rajon Rondo with his first hoop of the game using his patented fake on the drive before laying it home. Ray Allen was struggling early, 0 for 3 in the first quarter, but once again, Kendrick Perkins in the right spot at the right time, cleaning it up for Boston. So I mentioned during the intro of this video how the Celtics were missing Kevin Garnett during the playoffs. KG had won Defensive Player of the Year prior, and was probably the Celtics MVP over the course of their championship-winning playoff run. Obviously, losing a player of Garnett's caliber had the potential to sink the Celtics ship, but they got some pretty wild contributions from players attempting to fill his role. During the playoffs, Glenn Big Baby Davis averaged 16 points a game, while Kendrick Perkins put up 12 and 12 12 a game? I mean, with those contributions, who needs a Kevin Garnett? I kid, of course, as most experts and fans knew in the moment, losing KG was a red flag for the 09 Celtics.
They were 3-9 on the road last year in the playoffs. Home court would be huge for the Celtics. And without KG for a period of time, they may drop to the 2nd seed behind the Cleveland Cavaliers or even the 3rd seed behind the Orlando Magic. Big time uphill battle for a team that has really not established depth.
Derrick Rose on the board for the first time in game 1, dropping in a pair of free throws after threatening to throw down on Paul Pierce in transition. Perkins with his 3rd hoop of the game on an and-one dunk. What in the world? Noah with a tough finish at the rim of his own. That was answered by Rondo with an elbow jumper, which was answered by Rose with a midi of his own, which was answered by Rondo once again with a jumper. Man, that was a lot of fun. Rajon actually had 12 in the first quarter, another 2 in transition right there. Working from the post, yet another first quarter hoop from Kendrick Perkins. He was 4 for 4 in the quarter, and as mentioned a few moments ago, he averaged a double-double in the playoffs. Man, I honestly feel like we should devote some time talking about the greatness of Perk. My guy was a problem. Alright, great segment everybody. To close the first quarter, we saw Rondo once again getting to the rim for 2. Derrick Rose with an and-one finish quickly at the other end. A wild lob from Rose to Noah on the finish, and another layup for Rondo to close the first quarter, tied at 28. Something I couldn't help but notice watching this game. The Bulls and Celtics combined had like 7,000 NBA that guys on their rosters. Meaning players you see pop up and make you say, hey, it's that guy. For example, getting the scoring going in the second for Boston was Eddie House on a deep jumper. You know Eddie House, he's that guy from that basketball memory you have. His shot was assisted by Stephon Marbury, by the way, who also might qualify as a that guy at this point in his career. Anyways, Tyrese Thomas confidently banged a triple to give Chicago the lead, again off another Rose assist. The Bulls found another deep connection, this time from Kirk Hinrich, wide open in the corner. Kirk Hinrich is yet another that guy to me, and always an interesting player to think about. He came into the league in that vaunted 2003 draft, and although he was never LeBron James or Dwayne Wade, he also wasn't Darko Milicic, which is a good thing. Hinrich averaged 14 points, 6 assists, and a steal per game over his first 5 seasons as a pro. In addition, he was all rookie in 03-04, also all defensive in 06-07. He was basically the perfect veteran to have in the locker room and on the floor, helping along a young Derrick Rose when he arrived in Chicago. Hey, any baseball fans out there remember Ted Lilly? He was an all-star for the Toronto Blue Jays once upon a time. I don't even like them, it's just a thing. Quick 6-0 run for the Bulls as John Salmons hit a tough jumper for 2. Tyrese Thomas active with a steal and flush in transition. Then Salmons again with a tough finish at the rim this time. What does the name John Salmons mean to you guys? To me, it's a reminder that if you got drafted to Milwaukee on NBA 2K11, your my player wasn't touching the ball. Ever, because John Salmons had already shot it. Boston was struggling to find their range, with Paul Pierce and Ray Allen missing super clean looks from the perimeter on consecutive possessions. Rose continued to cook with a tough jumper at the shot clock buzzer. Ray Allen finally his first field goal from 7 feet out, but a strong half for the Bulls was solidified with a Brad Miller layup as time expired to give them a 9-point lead at the break. Okay, so let's take inventory here. Bulls with a 9-point lead at the half, impressive, but Paul Pierce and Ray Allen couldn't possibly combine for just 8 points again in the second half, right? I know for sure Derrick Rose wouldn't be able to top a near perfect first half performance again in the second, but that's a lie. Rose with a Matrix-like body morphing move in the paint to open the scoring in the second half. But Paul Pierce had an early 5 points for the Celtics with a finish inside, then a pull-up 3 moving to his left. Remember like 7 seconds ago when I lied about Derrick Rose not being amazing in the second half? Well, here's the proof of it. Off one leg, a runner from the baseline. I mean, that's a heck of a shot. Hey, it's Brian Scalabrine. What's up, GOAT? Pierce another 3 for the Celtics as he was beginning to heat up, but Rose had a response with another midi to give him 19 points already. Rajon Rondo a nifty floater in the lane, but Derrick Rose.
You have to meet him outside the paint as Rose answers the bell again. Oh, man.
Yes, thank you, John Barry. Couldn't have said it better myself. Big Baby pacifying the Bulls for a moment with a midi, but freaking Derrick Rose.
Rose again using the screen and again knocking it down.
The Celtics with their best run of game 1, and Rose simply wouldn't let them gain any ground. I mentioned Rose's numbers and accolades in his rookie season in the intro. In addition to those, his teammates were also genuinely in awe of his game beginning in year 1.
Oh man, I give Derrick Rose an A+. That kid came out and, he did everything
and more, than expected. I mean, I give Derrick, all the praise. He deserves it.
Rose doing everything and more for the Bulls took a lot of folks off guard, not because of his talent level, which was obviously insane, but because he was and is still a very soft-spoken guy.
He's quiet in demeanor, but his play yells, it screams, it hollers. And at the end of the season, you saw him accept leadership for this Bulls team.
Hey man, you don't have to say anything as an athlete if you're gonna ball out when it matters most. Despite Rose's heroics though, the Celtics fought back in the third quarter led by Rondo, who finished at the rim again, then hit a 3 from the left wing? Yeah, remember Rondo who couldn't shoot from the outside? I've never been the biggest Rajon Rondo fan personally. I don't know why, he's just one of those annoying players, I guess. Or maybe I just suck. But as Celtics fans can certainly attest to, his run during the championship contending years for Boston were actually insane. In this series, going head-to-head with rookie Derrick Rose, Rondo would average 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 12 assists. Beginning in 2009, his playoff stats through 2012 for Boston were 16, 7, and 10 a game. And that's a 66-game sample size, with each game being fairly important. It feels easy to forget because he was never a true perimeter threat, and obviously isn't that player anymore, but Rajon Rondo was an absolute baller in his prime for Boston. It was a bit of a slog to end the third quarter for both teams, but as Rondo put in another hoop on a goaltend with time expiring, he had 21 points, 5 assists through 3, while Derrick Rose had 25 and 8. It's a battle, y'all. Fourth quarter, more of the same for the Bulls, as rookie Rose finished a crazy hook shot from the lane after recovering an offensive rebound. Also more of the same for the Celtics, with Ray Allen bricking a great look from 3. Ray shot just 1 for 12 on this game. Yikes. In transition, the Celts were able to tie the game up at 75 with our boy Eddie House connecting from long range. Paul Pierce was able to finesse his way to the rim with a right-handed finish, but once again to stop Boston momentum, Rose blossomed. A hardline drive to the rack for a righty finish of his own. Man, he was so fast. Derrick once again pushed in transition, no let up, and finished with the floater in traffic plus the foul.
Derrick Rose has been nothing short of sensational today.
That gave Rose 32 on the game, more than he scored at any point prior in his rookie season. Both teams were slumping in the fourth. Kendrick Perkins' magic had worn off by this point. John Salmon simply couldn't find the range all game. It wasn't Paul Pierce's finest hour either, as he shot just 8 for 21 on the game, including that miss. Here's the Rondo we grew to know during those Celtics runs. A wide open jumper bricked from the top of the key that the Bulls didn't even think about guarding him on. At long last, Ben Gordon, who was the Bulls' leading scorer during the regular season, found the range with a contested 3 from the corner. But down 3, Rajon Rondo didn't settle in transition with a tough finish over Rose. Then Derrick with one of his very few rookie mistakes, careless turnover leading to a Paul Pierce, layup. Paul, you're literally 6'7". You don't have a dunk in you there? With 2.5 minutes left, Ben Gordon had officially woken from his cryo sleep. A pull-up jumper with his foot barely on the line. He then tied the game up with a dirty ISO on Ray Allen. He made the step back and got fouled. Made the free throw too to retake the lead for Chicago. Rondo, a career 61% free throw shooter, made a big pair with 90 seconds remaining. But once again, Ben Gordon had an answer for the Bulls.
Gordon. 12 in the quarter for Ben Gordon.
Pivotal performance from Gordon in the fourth. Big Baby crawled his way to the line and knocked down both freebies to bring the Celts back to within 1. Then after Rose and Noah both missed around the rim, Kirk Heinrich was baited into a horrible foul. That's the savvy of old Paul Pierce. The truth drained both. Boston with a 1-point lead with just over 30 seconds left, but guys, Derrick Rose.
Rose driving.
Oh, goodness.
Tough finish, perfect execution to get the 2-for-1. Rose would later credit the veteran Bulls on the roster for helping build the unrivaled confidence he played with as a rookie in his playoff debut.
It don't really matter. If you play hard, you should be able to do anything. My veterans told me to go out there, play my game. I played my game, and I didn't want to lose the game.
As you'd expect, however, a team with championship pedigree wasn't going down easy. Ray Allen another brick from the outside, but Rajon Rondo somehow able to collect the offensive rebound. He then probed, kept his dribble alive, and tossed up a hook shot over Joakim Noah, which somehow fell through. Down to 12 seconds remaining, with the Bulls fiending to get Rose the ball, Rondo picked up a personal foul, sending Rose to the line. But come on, a rookie in this spot, no chance he makes both of these. Okay, he quite literally hit nothing but net on both those attempts. Those 2 free throws gave Rose 36 points on the game, tying him with Kareem for most points ever by a rookie in his playoff debut. He passed Wilt Chamberlain and Tim Duncan in the process. That's pretty decent company, I'd say. Final possession. The Celtics went to Paul Pierce and, my word, Joakim Noah, what in tarnation were you doing? Right decision to double team Pierce, but clearly a mistake born of inexperience. You can't foul a jump shooter in that spot. Fortunately for the Bulls, Paulie P saved their bacon by bricking the second free throw with a chance to win it. That's weird. Certain individuals in the media would lead you to believe LeBron James is the only player to ever miss a clutch free throw like that. Guess that's not true. I'll be completely transparent with you all. Overtime wasn't quite as great as the 4 quarters leading up to it. Big Baby playing peekaboo with the Bulls defense, getting to the rim with a nice finish. But for Chicago, it was an unlikely hero to emerge. Tyrus Thomas connecting on a midi after the Celtics showed a double on Rose, give Derrick his 10th assist. After Pierce missed a very makeable shot of his own, John Salmons was finally able to get on the board again from the free throw line. Just under 2 minutes remaining now. Kendrick Perkins, all jokes aside, my guy somehow had 14 points in this game, and that was a big deuce. Once again though, Rondo and Davis showing double as Rose initiated the Bulls offense, forcing him to give up the rock, and Tyrus Thomas was able to convert with another mid-range jumper. Paul Pierce on the other end showing his late game acumen with a pure jumper over Rose to tie the game. Chicago tried getting Ben Gordon a look with the clock now under a minute left, but after their action broke down,
Thomas. Are you kidding? That's one step inside the three-point line.
No, seriously. I still have no clue how Tyrus Thomas became taller Michael Jordan in OT. It's so wild, dude. Meanwhile, Glenn Davis's bid to be referred to as Chubby Larry Bird took a hit, missing a very good look around the rim. He then reached and fouled out of the game. Thomas tried to ether the entire city of Boston, but finally missed a jumper, giving Boston a chance to tie or win the game with one final possession. The play was once again to Paul Pierce on the drive, and this time a great job defensively by Joakim Noah. Hard contest at the rim without fouling. Last chance for Boston, a Ray Allen contested jumper in the corner. He'd hit a big shot eventually in his career from that spot, but not this time. A record-tying playoff debut for one Derrick Rose, who finished with 36 points, 11 assists on 12 for 19 shooting, and the Chicago Bulls signaled they were a franchise once again on the rise. Wait a minute, on the rise? I could have worked in one last Derrick Rose pun. Let me think. The Bulls signaled that from the ashes they had rose and were once again ready for greatness. Oh yeah, that is much better. When Derrick Rose tied an NBA record that was set in 1970 by the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar against the defending NBA champs, it's safe to say he had officially arrived on the scene. Game 1 of the series would be his best, as the Bulls would eventually fall in 7 games to the Celtics, but it was the culmination of a rookie season that was truly the launching pad for Derrick Rose. In 09-10, Rose followed up his Rookie of the Year nod with an All-Star appearance, as he eclipsed 20 points a game and the Bulls once again qualified for the playoffs. By year 3, at the green age of just 22, Derrick Rose won League MVP, edging out a prime LeBron James and Dwight Howard in voting, and the Bulls made it all the way to the conference finals. I don't want this video to be a sad one for Bulls fans, so there's no need to remind anybody of what happened the following season, but I think we can all agree in just 3 seasons beginning here as a rookie, Derrick Rose etched himself into the minds of countless NBA fans, and to this day, I bet a large number of you watching this would count Rose as one of, if not your absolute favorite player. Meanwhile, I played the clip earlier of a young and slightly less wrinkled Skip Bayless calling this series between the Bulls and Celtics one of the greatest he'd ever seen, and for once, I can't even tell Skip, you are outside your mind. The teams went to overtime in 4 of the 7 games and played a total of 7 OT periods in the series, which is absolutely absurd. Boston was able to prevail in the series thanks to a pair of large victories in games 3 and 7, but those were woven in between games with a final margin of victory as follows: 2 points, 3 points, 3 points, 2 points, 1 point. I mean, come on. In addition to Rose's scintillating Game 1 performance, we also saw a 42-point outing from Ben Gordon and a 51-piece from Ray Allen in Game 6. In the grand scheme of the 2009 playoffs, the Bulls-Celtics series was fairly inconsequential, as the Celtics would lose a 7-gamer in round 2 to the eventual Eastern Conference champs, the Orlando Magic. The vacancy at rim protector with KG out certainly helped take down the Celtics, as Dwight Howard was able to run roughshod in the series. The Celtics regained their footing in the offseason, however, and started another NBA Finals run in the 09-10 season, before eventually fading as their stars began to age. For each game covered on Basketball Cinema, I'll be giving out 3 awards, beginning with the Clint Hawkeye Barton Award for Most Underrated Performer.
I don't care.
Which goes to Joakim Noah. I didn't mention his name as much as I should have in this video, which proves he deserves the award. And the reason is because Joakim Noah did all the little unsexy things for the Bulls in this game. He finished with a stat line of 11 points, 17 rebounds, 1 steal, and 3 blocks. And in just his second year, was showing the versatility and activity that would eventually make him an MVP candidate. The Rick Dalton Award for Most Recognizable Moment goes to this comment made by John Barry regarding some of the moves the Bulls had made during the season.
And if you look at this trade was a money trade. Let's be honest, this was trying to get ready for 2010, the great free agent class. I don't think the Bulls expected to play such great basketball after this trade was made.
We all remember that 2010 free agency class, right? LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, ever heard of them? There was a moment in which Chicago felt they were in the mix to make a huge splash. And finally, the Mark Jackson,
with all due respect,
Award for Weirdest Moment in this game goes to...
See, they're hoping to raise another banner here for the Bruins, who are one of the...
Didn't take you long to get your hockey talk in, did it?
No. Got to do what you got to do.
Les habitants here?
Les habitants.
Really, John Barry? So just because Dan Schulman is Canadian, you have to take a jab at him about hockey? I mean, I also love hockey. It's true, but nobody likes the guy who perpetuates stereotypes on national TV, John. And that's it. The Chicago Bulls beat the Boston Celtics 105-103 in Game 1 of the first round on April 18, 2009. Derrick Rose launched himself into a different stratosphere as a rookie, setting himself up for what would eventually be an MVP-winning career. If you enjoyed this episode of the show, please consider dropping a like down below. And if you can see yourself watching a few more of these in the future, I'd suggest hitting that subscribe button as well. Also, leave me a comment down below on literally anything from this video, please. Next week, we'll be taking a look at an NBA Finals game from the 1980s, a game which was truly magic. But until then, I'm Jay Canada, and this has been Basketball Cinema. In addition to rookie, and you got the sense that if he was just able to harness his could Rose having a super productive year despite Memphis losing in the final is still a frank. But Paul Pierce and Ray Allen couldn't possibly combine. Remember Rondo? Oh, hold on. It was a bit of slot. Once again, though, Rondo and Davis showed double on road. Hold on.